This is the Mickey Miles and More podcast, your one-stop for information on Disney races, Disney vacations, Disney theme parks, and more. Now, here are your hosts for the Mickey Miles and More podcast, Michelle Scribner-McLean, Chris Eliopoulos, and Mike Scopa.
Welcome home, Milers, and welcome back to another episode of Mickey Miles and More, a podcast where three friends talk about the Disney parks, the Disney races, and whatever else comes up. I'm Chris Eliopoulos, and with me, as always, is Dr. Michelle Scribner-McLean. You're done for the semester, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm hanging up my doctor title for about a month. I'm just Michelle Scribner-McLean, average citizen.
No professor?
No professor for a month. I am done grading.
Oh, man, look at you. You're good.
Oh,
You're good.
I know. I'm so excited.
And also with us is the Dean of Disney, Mike Scopa.
Class will be dismissed in a few hours, and we will be wishing everyone happy holidays. But make sure you're back in school come January.
I didn't realize Sam the Eagle was
that was semi-Sam.
Okay.
Mike schooling us. Mike schooling us.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a pun. So today's show, we're going to sit and talk about the fact that you can't always be at the parks, obviously. Especially
What? This is an outrage.
I know. But there's some other fun ways to go visit the Disney parks and other content, and that's through the Disney Plus streaming service, which started about a year ago or so. And I got to tell you, there is so much content on there. We just were talking before we started recording about what we wanted to talk about, what's on this service, and it is vast. There is a lot of stuff on there to talk about. So it actually started last week after our show. We got into talking about the Beatles Get Back documentary. You guys, how much have you guys watched of that show so far?
Just about finishing the second one. For myself, I sort of find that I can't watch it for like an hour. But haven't watched the whole thing yet, but loving it. Every time I watch it, I love it. You know, I don't remember any of that time. So it's just really, really cool.
Yeah.
I think that the thing that I think is, I was saying to you guys last week, the thing that is so funny to me is that you get to see the creation of these songs where they don't have them. They don't have them yet. That's like one of the two things, but I've been yelling at the screen.
Everybody, I have to.
Arizona! It's Arizona! Tucson, Arizona! But the other thing for me about that one is the magic between Paul and John and the way they work with each other.
Yeah.
When they're left alone by all the hangers on. But
yeah,
the way they lock eyes and it's just
they know what they're thinking.
It's really, really amazing.
Yeah. I saw an interview with Peter Jackson, who was the director, and he talked about how they went through all this footage, and when they were filming it, they were setting up cameras, and the Beatles were a little nervous at first having all these photographers around and recording everything. So they would the photographers, they decided they would just hit the start button, record button, and then they walked away. And then the Beatles felt that they were by themselves and doing stuff, although I don't think you see that many scenes where it's just them. But one of the interesting things that Peter Jackson was talking about was that the technology that is available to them today allows them to go through the audio, and the technology is told to disregard or tamper down anything that sounds like a guitar or a drum, so that you can hear them talking. So as Michelle was saying, there's all kinds of magic going on between John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and they're always strumming their guitars, even when they're talking. But the technology allowed them to remove that audio track, so you can hear them talking and creating. It's very interesting. It's like 50 years ago, so it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's as somebody who's spends his time creating and coming up with stuff, it's funny how many people think it's just a natural, like, oh, you were just born with this talent and it just comes out of you and that's it and you're done, and it's a magical thing and it just appears on the, in front of you. And it's not. There's a lot of work, and it's nice to know that even though the Beatles are geniuses, that they have to work at it and to watch them go through the process was like amazing to me. And that's what I got most out of it, was just sort of like that they would just walk around in the dark trying to find the song or songs, or I've got this little bit here, what can we do with it? And there's never these moments of, here's this song fully formed and welcome to my genius. It's just sort of like, I thought up this one little line and let's build on it. And they would build and work on it. And, you know, this thing takes place over like the course of 3 weeks. And you can see them building songs over 3 weeks to the end, and where they pull it together and they have a few songs that they play on the roof. The other interesting thing I found, how far along in the second episode did you get so far? Are you done with it or almost done with it?
Done with it.
Almost done?
Yeah.
There's a moment, I don't want to give it too much away, but I think this is an interesting thing.
It's not like he spoiled it for me. The
no,
thing
there's
that
a
happened
moment
50 years ago.
So I can't remember if it's the second or third episode, but there's a moment where, actually, it's probably in the second one, in the beginning. Paul and John go to the luncheon area, whatever, to go have lunch. And they hid microphones in the centerpieces, the flowers, to record them. And I thought, I hope they knew about it. I hope the Beatles knew that it was there, because it seems such an invasion of privacy. Like, they were ready to have a private conversation about George leaving. And then Paul is talking about, you've always been the leader of the band, John, and I don't want to do this. And this is not what I want to be doing, but I feel like if we don't do this, we're never going to do anything. And it was just like really them, right? Even when they're recording out in the on the set, whatever it was, what is it? A set, the soundstage. Yeah. You could tell John is always performing. Like, you always see him kind of acting goofy for the cameras, and that's what he does because he feels awkward. But like that moment, I was like, oh, I felt dirty. I was like, that was really obnoxious, but
what a treat. It's like a treat. It's like a little, I don't know.
I'm on my second watch. I'm just almost to the point where George says, see you folks, in the first one again. So, but speaking of music, a year ago, July, geez, it's been so long. The thing that I've been waiting to see was Hamilton, and that came out. And I'm sure, Michelle, you were in heaven.
Oh, yeah. It was. I mean, I was lucky enough to get to see it in Boston, but just the idea that so many people could see it. I know I've talked to people whose kids have had it just on autoplay since it came out.
Yeah.
And so well done. I mean, just so amazing to see what they did with that production of it, just to put it on film.
Yeah.
Mike's not a fan.
Yeah.
Mike is not a rap fan.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have issues, as we all know. And one of I know. One of my issues, and it's funny, I've tried to explain this to people. I'm super anxious at live performances. I get freaked out at them. I'm always empathetic, and I worry that, what happens if they forget a line, or what happens if they trip, or if they miss their cue, or like, I get so worked up about this. Like, we went to one of the first musicals I went to go see was Wicked, and it was only like a couple of weeks after, I forget which actress it was playing the Wicked Witch of the West. There was a cue where the floor drops out in the smoke and she's supposed to go down, and it accidentally opened at the wrong time in a performance, and she broke her collarbone. And so my friend had told me this story just before I went to go see it. So I was like tensed up the whole performance. I came home with a headache because I was just so stressed. I went to go see Les Mis at one point, and there's a point where the little kid is supposed to throw this bag over the parapet, and he misses, and everybody in the audience goes, "Oh!" And I felt horrible for the kid, and so I'm horrible at live performances. So for me, this was amazing to be able to see this performance and not stress, because I knew nobody would get it wrong because they would just do another take. So
very empathetic.
Yeah.
It's great. I hope it stays on there forever.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm worried about, is that things may get taken down from the service at some point.
Like Netflix, how it rotates things in
Yeah.
and out.
Yeah, which I hate so much, because it's like, come on, like it's like you have server space. Like, why are you getting rid of it?
Yeah,
What's the big deal? But the next up, we'll switch over to Marvel a little bit, my little home territory. You guys, have you watched all of the shows on Disney Plus, the Marvel shows? Loki.
Yes. Not Loki.
Really?
Loki.
Lasted about 3 or 4.
Yeah, Loki. For both of us, were like, no,
you
thank
gave
you.
up?
Yeah, love Owen
Okay.
Wilson. Love Tom Hiddleston. Is that how you say his name? Just I don't know. It was just too confusing. I felt like I needed to make a chart and figure this
Right.
out.
Sure.
It just wasn't. I don't know. Just
Well, we
did not
watched-
grab me.
right.
Did not grab me.
We
That's
did-
the only Marvel one that I haven't enjoyed.
WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Now Hawkeye we're watching.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
you are watching Hawkeye. I didn't know if you.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
just finished episode
5 just came out.
4. We're
This
in
week?
4.
Oh, so you're a week behind?
Yeah.
So Chris, his something I brought up to Michelle last night regarding Hawkeye. In the show, he is recognized by civilians. Oh, you're an Avenger or whatever.
Mhm.
And I remember growing up, and I grew up with Superman and Batman and Green Lantern and all those guys, and they all had a secret identity.
Mhm.
And the whole idea was that they had to keep their identity as a superhero a secret to
Right.
protect those around them,
Yep.
family, friends.
Yeah.
Yet Clint, Hawkeye, he doesn't have a mask or anything. He never did have a mask, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really funny because when you talk about the Marvel superheroes, the Avengers, none of them really have secret identities, do they?
Well, definitely not by the time Hawkeye comes out because they name them all.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're in a play, or in a musical. Speaking of musicals, right? Yeah, it's an interesting choice. In the comics, he obviously wore a mask. And
Oh, did he? I didn't know
originally he wore this very kind of flamboyant purple outfit that he had this big mask with like I don't know how people like wear it because it just came out like 6 or 7 inches on either side. It's like, how do you like look around? How do you get peripheral vision when you have this big giant thing on your head? But the show itself, I mean, so the movie series, he was supposed to be like sort of the minor Avenger type of thing, and I guess as all of this we start mining it. The TV show is based on a series, ironically enough, that I worked on. And so the concept of the book was, this is what Hawkeye does when he's not avenging. So it's like sort of like in the book, he is just going about his business. He's not being an Avenger. He, comes across the dog, Lucky. He's actually the one who saves Lucky, the pizza dog in the book. And he's sort of a parallel for Hawkeye in terms of getting beat up all the time, but always striving to get better, whatever. And so in that, they sort of knew that he was an Avenger, but didn't, which is interesting. So it's sort of the same parallel. The cinematic universe, yeah, it definitely seems like they are not following the embarrassing, old stuff, but they follow this series, which is interesting. And I think it plays into it because I think as you're watching the show, again, there are definitely differences in the show from the book. I think there's something going on with his wife in the movies. In the comic book, he's not married. He's been married to another character called Mockingbird, who is she was on whatchamacallit, the Shield TV show, the character. So it's totally different. That's totally different. And then they're divorced by the time this book came out. So it's continuity. So just like Loki, I hate all that stuff too. I hate the continuity garbage because it just gets you too confusing. But so in the book, they the running joke was there was a guy, Grills, who would sit on the roof of this building that he bought, grilling. So that's why his name was Grills. So the character on the TV show Grills, who was a fireman, is a little bit different. He'd always call him Hawkeye, not Hawkeye, Hawk Guy. So that was the running joke. So So yeah, the look of the show is based on this comic series. The logo is similar. I actually drew an issue of that Hawkeye book. So what was going on was the artist was running late. He liked my cartooning work, even though it was lettering stuff, and said, we have to do an issue with Chris drawing it. So the issue is basically Clint is babysitting for a couple of kids in the building that he's basically owns and he's helping. And it's Christmas time and a Christmas special comes on, and it's the Winter Friends special. And it's basically a parody of Hawkeye and what's going on in his life. So it was all, I drew that whole thing. They won't do that on the TV show, but it definitely took the flavor of Christmas, which is where they went with Hawkeye. So it sort of carries over. So if you look at the title credits and the ending credits, they look like David Aja's work, who's the artist on the book. It's an amazing look. And they owe him a big debt of gratitude because it really looks like his stuff, even down to like the getaway car that they were driving. Remember Echo, the woman, the deaf woman, they originally in the book,
Maya?
Right.
Maya.
In the book, they actually took that car and were in a car chase in that old hot rod, whatever it was. So, which is funny, but it looks exactly the same. So,
That's cool.
Yeah, so if you're interested in the TV show, I highly recommend. They came out with a full-on, big, thick trade paperback at the end of November called Hawkeye, the Saga of Barton and Bishop, and it's basically the Bible to this TV show. So I highly recommend
with the
it.
same font. Yeah, I think Chris, what you made me think about is that one of the cool things about this Disney Plus platform is that, and I know this isn't new. This has been happening for a while. We don't have to just have a show that's on Wednesdays at 8:00, but we can go in many, many different directions and many storylines, develop many characters. I mean, who knows if Hawkeye would have gotten a movie on his own, but this is like 3 Hawkeye movies that people get to enjoy and see that character develop. And then, then we're going to go back and watch it, a repeat of the Avengers and like, oh, now I get that. I understand it more. So it's interesting. I mean, I'm lucky that I can talk to you if I don't get things, but I think this particular series to me is more inviting to a person who doesn't really get the whole story. I can follow along. Loki to me wasn't.
Yeah,
but I still really appreciate it. The new Captain America. What's that guy's name? the guy who
U.S. agent John Walker.
The guy who became the new Captain America.
John Walker.
No.
Oh, you mean Sam Wilson?
Yeah.
Sam Wilson.
Yeah. That whole story was really interesting. I wouldn't say I'm like a Marvel fan, but I really am enjoying these shows.
Yeah. This stuff definitely lends itself. Marvel's known for its continuity. Like there's never an ending, right? Every series ends with a cliffhanger for the next thing. And this is what they're doing now with the shows and the movies. And like even now, the woman, they already announced they're going to be doing an Echo show. So she's going to get her own show.
Echo is Maya?
Maya, sorry. Okay. Yeah, that becomes her name.
Yeah. She becomes Echo?
Yeah. Well, that's her name in the comics. And then like Miss Marvel's going to have her own show. So I think it's a great way for them to sort of almost create the comic series. And then the movies are sort of like, so every year Marvel will do like a big crossover event. Like every year there's like one big event where it's always the Avengers and the X-Men fighting the whatever guy, whatever bad guy. And I think that's what the movies are going to be. They're going to be like the big crossover events, and then you're going to have these TV shows which are going to act like limited series comics, and they'll lead into each other, and you'll sort of get a feeling of,
Well, I feel very lucky. I feel like
oh geez, my Siri went off. It must have been like, what are you trying to tell me?
I feel like it's one of the biggest bargains that I have. It was to get, I bought it with a D23 membership, and it was, buy it for 3 years. But for the first time, I'm talking about maybe giving up regular cable TV because honestly, just don't watch it. Watch a lot of Disney Plus.
Yeah,
And everybody I talk to does. It doesn't matter if they have kids or don't have kids or how old they are.
Yeah, they have so much stuff. I mean, one of the first I remember when it first came out, the one thing that made everybody go, "Hey, wait a minute," was the fact they didn't have the Muppet Show on.
Yeah.
And a few months later, we actually got the Muppets. So I don't know about you, but I was kind of happy to have that somewhere, other than my old DVDs that I have to pop in. So Sam Eagle, are you happy the Muppets are on?
I'm very happy. Yes.
You have what is it? You have 3.5 minutes. Let's
3.5 minutes.
have you
I'm not into my voice is not good.
spectacular. Yeah,
I'm not a good Sam.
Did you guys watch the Haunted Mansion Muppets one?
Yes, that was awesome.
What did you think? I haven't watched that one yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought it was very good. It was like the closest to the quality of Muppets Christmas Carol that I've seen.
Very loyal to the attraction.
Yes.
Very loyal to the attraction.
Yeah. And
Oh,
if you
I thought-
watched in another one, Behind the Attraction, didn't they talk about that? Or we saw something where they were talking about the making of this.
Right.
And so yeah, all the Muppet stuff, going back and looking at shows that I remember watching when I was like in middle school, and half of the hosts are not with us anymore, but
Yeah.
really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I love to go back and keep an eye on that stuff. But do you force Mike to watch shows, or does he like instigate shows to watch? Are there any shows that Mike? Say that again.
I think it's collaborative.
Yeah, we actually, our friend Karen, who works for Disney Weddings, just stayed with us this past weekend. She was up in New Hampshire, and she was saying, I shouldn't say she's not a fan of that show. I'm really interested in that show because of the behind the scenes stuff. I'm not like a big like wedding girly girl, but Mike will not watch that show. He does not like that show.
So you have two different genres, I would say, on Disney Plus. You've got the fiction library, and then you have the nonfiction library, and the nonfiction library is pretty interesting.
Yeah. We watch more of that.
One of the shows we watched, I believe it's Disney Plus. Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Earth at Night?
No, that's Apple TV.
Oh,
Plus.
I have to. All right, edit that one out.
Yeah, right. No, I agree though. The real stuff. Like, I like the Marvel 616 they came out with. They have the Disneyland. Remember those old Disneyland episodes they'd pop in with the Man in Space and around when the seasons, or like a nighttime at Disney. They have those on there.
And the Disney holiday shows. Mike, there's one that you really liked that we stumbled upon that was Illuminations, but not the one that we think of.
Was that on Disney Plus, or was that on YouTube?
That was Disney Plus.
That was Disney Plus. So we would just,
I have so many streaming services, so little time.
Yeah, so you're going through and you say, "Oh, what's that?" It was called Illuminations, and it was the nighttime spectacular that was shown. I don't know if it's still shown in Disneyland Paris.
Oh.
And if you haven't watched it, you will be blown away, and you will say, "Why can't they import that show to Florida? Why can't they bring something like that to Epcot?" It's probably the most, I don't know. It was so amazing to watch, and it's very much like a typical show in that you hear the songs that you normally would hear, but it's the way that they mix them together. It's the way that they had the pyro and the lights and everything. And I know that different venues offer different opportunities for pyro and projection and mapping of images and stuff like that. But it's just another nice option that you can go to Disney Plus and you can watch things from a Disney park on the other side of the earth.
I think that's the content that I like the most, the things that make you feel connected to the park. And that really makes me feel connected. We watched a really goofy show that I actually liked, but it was called The Magical, oh my goodness, I had it up here.
Magic Quest?
Disney's, okay, it's called Holiday Magic Quests. And the premise is that it's two pairs of young Disney stars who have to save the magic star, and Maleficent has taken over the park, and they're in Disney's Hollywood Studios, and one pair gets sent to Star Wars Land, the other pair gets sent to Toy Story Land, and they have to do these feats, or they have to run away from the stormtroopers. It's super goofy, but I was like, oh, that would be so fun to be in the park at night and look at Star Wars Land. And they sort of made Rise of the Resistance, they were on it, they made it into part of their adventure, and they were getting they were getting tracked down by stormtroopers and everything like that. I thought it was cute, but I guess the bottom line for me is like, oh, I feel like I'm in the park. I can't go to the park right now, but it makes me feel like I'm in the park. And so
even the behind the attraction series is a great little thing. The hard thing for me though is like you really do have to do a lot of searching. Like I never find any of these streaming services to be thoughtful in the terms of helping you find things. Like you have to know that they're there in order to go look for them, and sometimes you do like come across them, but there's a lot of times where I'm just like, where is this? Like I don't know. There's so many things I want to watch. Like I didn't even know that this was there. I wish they had sort of a better system to let you know where things are or what's coming up for each individual thing, right? Because they have the Disney, then they have Pixar, and then they have Marvel, and they have Star Wars, and whatever the other one. What's the National Geographic and
with Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, there you go. That one too.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like, but I wish I had better ways to discover the shows I do want to see. Because it seems like the stuff they list on the page isn't everything, and so you sort of really have to look for things.
Oh, could it be everything? I don't think it could be everything on the page.
I know. I wish they had like a sort of a list or something like that. Of, here's
an alphabetical order.
Yeah, just something to.
Or just
help.
like Spotify or Apple Music, where you like something and it pulls that stuff up more for you.
Yeah. One of the other things, speaking of Star Wars Land, was so they had The Mandalorian, which was a surprise hit. I think it was the first one of the new created specifically for Disney Plus series that really made people go, oh, this is going to be some good stuff they can have on there.
I know people who bought that subscription just because they were hearing the buzz about Baby Yoda.
Yeah. And it was great. And they're making about a second season. But they're also coming out with Boba Fett. Are you excited, Mike? They're coming out with a Boba Fett series in December?
I will be curious to see how they treat that character and how they hope to bring in the audience. I don't know if the audience is that familiar with Boba Fett, so it will be interesting to see how they develop that character. I think the first 2 episodes will be very key to how that series will be as far as popularity goes. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm worried. Like, the whole thing about Boba Fett was that he was quiet. You didn't know anything about him. He was mysterious. And now...
Right.
And also, if you look at him, he's kind of put on a few pounds. Like, Boba Fett isn't as young and sprightly as he used to be. So it's a little worrisome. But, it's definitely something to watch. I'm looking forward to it. Like, again, I wish I had more time for a lot of these things. Like, one thing I wanted to mention to you is that I don't know if you saw, like, if you like Star Wars, they have these things called biomes, Star Wars biomes, and so basically it's sound, like, and you just listen to it and it shows some visuals of things from the movies, and then there's like ones about the ships or something like that. You can it's like a fly through of the ships.
Oh yeah.
Which is great. So. And
they also have like Disney Sunrise that are like that too. It's just a background sort of thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Chris, I wanted to mention that last month, Disney Plus released a documentary special. It's called Under the Helmet, The Legacy of Boba Fett. And it talks about the origins and the legacy of the character. And it would be good for someone to watch that before they begin to watch the series.
Yeah, it's a good primer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, like the first appearance of Boba Fett was on the holiday special. I don't know if you've ever seen that
The
thing.
infamous holiday
Yeah.
The
special?
Lego
Yeah.
one.
Wow.
No, not Lego. This is originally back in
Oh, this is, yeah.
1977.
Oh,
They had like B. Arthur and Art
Yes.
Carney on there, and
If you follow, and you should, if you follow Mark,
Hamill.
well, thank you. I forgot his name on Twitter, who's so hilarious on Twitter.
Yeah, he's great.
always mentioning that holiday special and B. Arthur. And
Yeah, I actually, what's funny when they showed the footage from the new Star Wars hotel, and they showed the woman singing, I swear, I was like, they are trying to recreate the holiday special. Like, it just was that cringeworthy. But
that's funny. So on Disney Insider, another show that we really like, they were talking to Hasbro people, working with Star Wars people, and they showed how they do the artwork and then create some of the Star Wars characters as action figures. And how
cool.
they work it out and try to like work on the articulation and how they paint them. And I think Boba Fett was one of the characters.
That's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I love that stuff.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
I know. The problem with this is that there's so much to see and so little time to see it. Like, I don't know about you, but like, I don't have a lot of time to sit and like, I want to go watch National Geographic specials. I want to, like, I love that stuff. I there's a bunch of Pixar stuff on there. I just can't get to it all, but it's definitely good stuff. If you have any other recommendations, please let me know about like anything that's like the Disney parks related stuff. Like, I didn't know about this holiday Magic Quest, and
it's goofy. It's like, it's got a very 70s sort of vibe to it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I would recommend it.
What I find funny too is every time I get the Disney Plus email and they talk about what's trending on Disney Plus, every single time it's The Simpsons. I don't know if you get that. I'm just like, how ironic. Of all the the properties they own, all the things they've created, and there's the number one most viewed thing is the Fox, TV show. So goes to show you. But there's a lot of material for I mean, there's 15, 16, 17 seasons of The Simpsons, like, if not more. What are they up to? 20 something?
20.
Really?
20,
That
I
many?
think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to like 1990, one or two?
Wow.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. So it's 20 years worth. Crazy stuff. So any other recommendations before we call it quits here?
Wow, there's so much to mention. Like you said, Chris, there's so many things, so little time, and that also holds for I was just going through, and there's almost, I think there's over 20 different Disney originals that relate to the Marvel Studios. There's so many things. It's funny. I was just going through real fast. There's a show that's called I Am Groot. I don't,
Yeah.
that would be fun to watch.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of them.
I would say the new Cruella with Emma Stone was amazing. If you haven't seen that, I have seen The Jungle Cruise in theaters twice. I can't wait to see that again.
Wow.
Have you seen The Jungle Cruise?
I have not.
Oh, it's so fun. So fun.
Again, things I want to see. Like, I have it on a list of things I want to see, and and that's what's crazy too, is all the movies go on there, so you've got a chance to see all the movies. And
I haven't seen the Nine Rings, the Shang-Chi.
Yes,
I want to see that.
That was a good one too. I enjoyed that
That's
one. What's interesting is they did that paywall thing for a while. Speaking of the Jungle Cruise and Shang-Chi. I haven't seen that lately though. They haven't put it up.
They had it for the Jungle Cruise. They had it for Cruella. They had it for. Did they have it for Hamilton? I can't remember, but
yeah, they didn't have it for Shang-Chi. Who did they? They had it for Black Widow.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it since.
I have a subscription to AMC theaters, so you can go like 12 times a month if you want to for $24. So I tend to see the things there. So that's how I saw the Jungle Cruise, and it works. It's awesome because it works in Disney Springs if you happen to be down there, so you don't have to pay money to go.
There is some.
Did you correct me earlier that this is going to be the 3rd season of Mandalorian?
I think
Yeah, you're right. It's
two
3rd.
seasons.
Yep.
I'm correcting you on a Star Wars thing.
God, it's been so long.
Winning.
I know, right? You beat me to this one.
There are some things coming up, I think, next year that they are beginning to promote a little bit. One that looks pretty interesting is from Marvel Studios. It's called She-Hulk. See what that's all about. Another one is Mrs. Marvel.
Yeah, he mentioned that already.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Willow.
Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel.
It's Ms.
Ms.
It's
Marvel,
Ms.
yeah.
Marvel,
There's-
both of you.
there's one that I think a lot of people would love to see. It's just called Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes. Yes.
So there's a few more like that. I already mentioned I Am Groot.
Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Yeah, I don't know if that's So there's a
I
whole
actually
Are
think
these all coming?
I think James
coming
Gunn is doing
soon.
that
Coming
one.
soon, yeah.
I think
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think it's like a legit, like they're getting the crew together to do the special or something. So
Those
I
are
think.
just
Don't
a
quote me on it, but I think that's what happened.
Those are just a few. Have you ever heard of this one, Chris? Ashoka. A-H.
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. Have you heard of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, so she was in the animated show. She was the Padawan to Anakin Skywalker, and so she's been like a fan favorite for a couple of years now. And so they're going to give her own show.
Rosario
Executive
Dawson.
producer
Remember
Jon
her?
Favreau. Hmm?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Rosario Dawson. She plays.
Oh yeah, she was in the Mandalorian. then.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Mm.
Right. Well, I was trying to
Yeah.
where it started was there. I will say too, if you go back, so the Miss Marvel, talking about crossovers, Ms. Marvel, but also WandaVision, the upcoming Captain Marvel movie is going to have a bunch of the Marvels. So, who was what was her name? Monica Rambeau, who was the Shield agent on WandaVision, who was trying to go in. And remember, she gets these powers at the end, these quantum powers. So in the comic books, she actually became Captain Marvel for a period of time. So she was a Captain Marvel. Then the now Captain Marvel used to be Miss Marvel and then changed to Captain Marvel, took that thing. And then now the new Miss Marvel took the name Miss Marvel from the now Captain Marvel. They're all going to appear in this movie together. So it's going to be a bunch of the Marvels
I
together.
hope you're not going to give a quiz because
But
I do
basically
not
what I'm saying,
understand.
what I'm trying to say is, so these two TV shows are crossing over with the movie. So it's going to get more intertwined
Got it.
in all these Marvel things. It's going to be the movies are going to intertwine with the TV shows, are going to intertwine with all the other stuff. So it's just,
Wow. Well, I hope we
Well,
have a lot of snowstorms.
doesn't
'cause I'm
happen
ready
till-
to stay in my pajamas and watch Disney Plus all day
Yeah.
long.
But Ms. Marvel won't be launching until summer of 2022.
yeah.
Wow.
I don't know when does Captain Marvel 2 come out?
That I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if it's before or after the TV show. So
So much to watch.
that's the whole kit and
We
caboodle.
don't need to go to the parks anymore, right?
Yeah, who
got
needs the
everything.
parks? Who
I
needs
know
an annual
you
pass?
got me now. I'm sitting here like going now, like I want to go back and watch some of these shows that you know.
Who needs
Yeah, you
Genie
should.
Plus? Who needs
Yeah, right.
Lightning Lane? Who needs?
We got our own Lightning Lane. We can watch
Yeah.
everything.
Well, I think we can say the three of us would agree that we're really happy with the Disney Plus
Yes.
content.
this
like
was not a paid advertisement.
Yeah, 3 thumbs up. I mean,
Yeah.
really, it's definitely the one that I watched the most.
Yeah.
Although I will give a plug for the Ted Lasso Christmas special.
Oh,
Have
yes.
you seen that, Chris?
Yes. Where he loses his mustache.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's all.
It's a
good.
different,
I actually,
different
I was-
streaming service.
I was gonna say I actually rewatched the Christmas special from the second season last night. Just
Yeah.
rewatched it. It's
I want to
just great
rewatch
stuff.
that whole show.
yeah, all good. So, but I think that's gonna wrap it up for us for this episode of Mickey Miles and More. If you want to reach out to us, send a message on Twitter at Mickey Miles Pod. For Dr. Michelle Scribble McLean, Mike Scopa, and I'm just rushing through people's names and mumbling them out. I'm Chris Eliopoulos. We'll see you on the road in the parks.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Mickey Miles and More podcast. For all of us here at the Mickey Miles and More podcast, this is Rick Gray saying thanks for listening and all your support. And until next time, we'll see you on the road.